All right, so let's start with a show of hands. How many people in the room are aware who ADP are? Everyone knows who ADP is? According to my opinion, in addition to our own hard work, ADP is a very big reason why we get paid on time every month, every pay cycle. And that's been happening for decades. Don't you all like to get paid? I know I do. So welcome to the session. We'll learn about ADP GlobalView's modernization journey with AWS over the years, with specific focus on RISE with SAP. As you can see, I brought my special voice today. It was okay till yesterday, and since today morning, it's been a little hoarse. So apologies for any issues because of that, but I'll try my best. I have the honor of having Marcos Camponagara from ADP with us today. Marcos is the VP of Product Development at ADP. Marcos started his career as a developer in Brazil. He joined ADP in 2007 as a lead developer and has played multiple different roles across different business units within ADP, like payroll, benefits, talent, HR, across countries like Chile, US, and Spain. I also have the company of my friend Anjan Dave here, a principal solutions architect at AWS, who supports ADP across various modernization initiatives over the years. And Anjan is a guru on designing resilient, cloud-native, and hybrid architectures. So if you want to discuss that topic, Anjan is the man. And I'm a principal SAP specialist at AWS. I was at SAP for about 16 years before joining AWS in 2020. So I've been working with some of the largest SAP customers in the world for 20 plus years. Thank you for joining us. We kept the agenda very simple. We'll start with understanding the history of ADP as a company, how they've evolved, where they lead in the market, what are their unique offerings. Then how did they make the decision to go with SAP's RISE offering, which is a managed service to run SAP workloads on the cloud. And then Anjan will take us through what else is happening in ADP beyond SAP. And finally, we'll spend some time in the end where we discuss what the unique benefits of AWS are for running SAP workloads. There's one thing different about this session that you may not find elsewhere, that we'll also be asking you some questions, so pay attention to the content. Over to you, Marcos.
All right. Thanks, Sudeno. Thanks for the introduction. Okay, so I'll start giving you some context about ADP. So we have been around for 75 years. We have more than 1 million clients globally, and we pay more than 40 million workers across the globe. So ADP offers basically a full human capital management solution to manage employees for our clients all the way from hiring to retiring. We have a legacy of innovation, a history of innovation. We invented the payroll outsourcing 75 years ago. We invested very early on automation. So when computers were still not a thing or were very expensive, we created global payroll. We launched the first HCM, human capital management marketplace, the first HCM mobile app, which is heavily used by employees of our clients. We recently announced the launch of Lyric HCM, a global HCM solution. We recently acquired Workforce Software, which is a workforce management solution. So we are really busy on this side. There is always things happening. We are always looking at opportunities to bring new things for our clients, to bring innovation to our clients. So I'm going to get a little bit more into global payroll because I'm here to talk about one of our products in the global payroll space. So just to give you some more context and share some numbers. So we have been offering global payroll solutions for more than 20 years now. We have 2,800 plus clients across the globe. And we cover 140 different, actually 142 countries. We recently expanded a little bit. So think about the global payroll as a solution for clients that are multinationals, right? Clients that are operating in multiple different countries, and they need a solution to basically pay their employees. So they can leverage center of excellence, shared services, without having to have a presence or a pay team, an HR team on each one of the countries. Through this solution, we offer like a deep HCM integration. So think about external non-ADP systems like Workday, Oracle, SuccessFactors, and also, of course, with ADP. I just mentioned Lyric. We have Workforce Now for US-based clients as well. We're always looking at opportunities to expand from a country perspective. We do that a lot based on what our clients are asking and on their plans. An interesting aspect of global is local. So when you are operating in 142 countries, you can imagine that they have differences. And there are lots of local aspects that need to be taken in account. So being able to offer those solutions is also important. So that complements the global offering. And the two other aspects here are extremely important. So compliance, that's one of the main reasons clients come to us, because you can imagine that being compliant across all these countries is not an easy, simple task. We are very proud to be able to offer that to our clients. And security, because we deal with very sensitive data, and security is an extremely important aspect of what we do as well, and we put lots of effort on that. So a little bit of history, so the journey. So we started Global Payroll, we started GlobalView, launched GlobalView in 2001. It's a solution built on top of SAP. 2005, we launched ADP Streamline, which is like more an aggregator model. So you can leverage different payroll solutions across countries and consolidate that solution. In 2018, we acquired ADP Celergo, and that's kind of an evolution of Streamline. Basically, you have like a central layer where we get all the data from the clients and integrate with the payrolls in the different countries. And that can be ADP solutions, ADP payroll products, in many of them. And also we work with partners depending on the countries. We just launched Celergo 2.0, so that is an improvement on top of Celergo, making the solution a lot easier to use, more intuitive, more automated to help our clients. And next year, so a few months down the road, we're going to have GlobalView. We'll start moving GlobalView to the cloud with SAP RISE on AWS. So when you look at the central picture with these two main products, right? So GlobalView and Celergo, they make global payroll, right? And GlobalView is for our upmarket. So think about like clients or countries where clients have a large number of employees. And Celergo, you can go all the way from 1 to 10 employees, so smaller populations. In the combination of Celergo and GlobalView, you can cover all the spectrum of those clients. This map is very, very nice because it shows you the coverage, right? So 142 countries. So we do payroll, we run payroll basically around the clock. We cover all these time zones. We are paying people in each one of these countries. And that puts quite a bit of pressure on us from maintaining this. Like, so what is a good time to make an update, right? There are countries where Sunday is a working day. So it's a very interesting dynamic. It's very dynamic from that perspective, and very challenging as well. I want you to look at this slide, and I'm going to come back to it a little bit later. But when we think about this, the overall solution, right? So again, GlobalView, Celergo. Celergo is already a solution that is on the cloud. It's already on AWS. GlobalView is still on-prem. So we host that on our data centers. And then we have like certain layers that are common from a global payroll perspective. So self-service portal for the employees, practitioners of our clients. We offer analytics and reporting tools that are across the products. Integration, I mentioned the upstream integrations with HCMs, but we also have downstream integration, so that is an integration platform. And, of course, configuration, setup, and implementation of these systems, okay? So now I'll go into a little bit more details about GlobalView specifically. So GlobalView is a full self-contained payroll product. We cover 44 countries with GlobalView. So between GlobalView and Celergo, that's how we get to the 142. GlobalView, 44 countries. We have like a combination, like client-country combination, 800 client-country combinations. So each client has a certain number of countries that they use GlobalView to pay their employees. So it can be 5, 10, 20, up to the 44. 5.5 million users in our systems. And if there's anybody with the SAP background on the audience, I mean, we do 30,000 monthly transports, which is a pretty huge number of transports for SAP systems. We have more than 400 servers, more than 400 terabytes of storage across the system. We have a history of collaboration with SAP. So we started, again, GlobalView in 2001, basically building the solution on top of SAP. So we have a very good level of alignment. That's one of the reasons we are taking this step forward now as well. So when you think about GlobalView and the way it works, I basically mention 3 layers, right? So the base layer is when you have the templates. So SAP offers a number of templates per country, right? So a template per country. So we basically build our template on top of that, and we extend that as well, because we offer additional capabilities, functionalities per country. So that's the basic or the baseline of the solution. On top of that, you can have country-specific customizations or features or solutions. So that's the second level. And then on top of all that, because think about the clients, so we host very large clients on this solution, which have their own needs and demands. So we also offer the ability to customize. Of course, we don't want to customize every single thing, but we have the ability to make the customizations when they make sense. And depending on the country, you have different needs, right? You have maybe union agreements and things like that that you need to adapt to the client reality, okay? So why the cloud? So what are the drivers for us to make this change now? We have been doing this for, again, more than 20 years. It's working well. It's a successful product. But basically, we believe that it's a moment to really be ready for the future. We want to make sure that the solution is ready for the next 20 plus years, 30 years, right? That's one of the drivers, making sure that we are leveraging the technology that is available on the cloud. The second piece is innovation. So, innovation is something that the cloud brings. You can leverage things that are there. We can also focus and invest more on that. So that's the second aspect. Third one is client experience, which is a very, very important aspect. It's something that we put lots of focus. I'm not talking just about here the user experience, UI, UX, those things, but think about the resilience, scalability, being able to support our clients where they are. And last but not least is growth. So this is a business that has been growing. It's an industry that is growing, and we want to make sure that we're able to support that as it continues evolving, okay? So, why SAP RISE? So I told you, I mentioned that we have been working with SAP all these years. The solution is built on top of that. RISE is where SAP is putting their investments. That's where the product is evolving, so we're gonna make part of that. From a business perspective, we have like a strong alignment and collaboration. So for us, since we want to make this movement to the cloud, it's something we have been considering for a while now. It makes sense to leverage that. From a technical perspective, there are certain things that we do today that my teams take care that are maybe not or should not be our main focus, right? So maintaining patches, updates, and things like that. So with RISE, that's part of the offering of the managed services as well. So we can focus more on bringing improvements to the product, innovation, and those things, and we can leverage that support from SAP. The other aspect is being able to leverage enhancements from the roadmaps, right? So again, that's where SAP is investing. That's where the product is evolving. So we want to make sure that we are able to take advantage of that evolution of the things that are being delivered there. Why AWS? So I'm not sure if you know, but with RISE is a layer of services. And so with SAP RISE, you can basically choose which hyperscaler you want to be. So it can be AWS, it can be Azure, it can be Google Cloud. So that's a choice that a company can make when we go into RISE. So we pick an AWS, and there are certain reasons like being ready for the future, innovation aspects. So I touched on those, I mentioned those. Overall optimization and scalability with the cloud. So those are things that are important. But we have like a long and strong history of collaboration with AWS. We have many other products that are already in AWS or in the process of moving to AWS. Our teams have a very strong knowledge as well of the overall AWS landscape. We have been working with them for a long time, so we really feel comfortable. We understand how it works, and that helps us to optimize the systems better and be more prepared. And there's a big synergy with other solutions because GlobalView, Global Payroll is not a product in isolation. So we do integrate, we do have other products in the ecosystem that make part of our offering. And many of those are in AWS already. So it is leveraging that synergy. And last but not least, I mean, AWS has a very nice, very good amount of experience with SAP as well. So that's a plus because we can work together on leveraging, taking the benefits from the cloud, but also making sure that we are really managing it well, doing things in the best possible way with SAP. So that's how we got to AWS. So how do we get there, right? So I gave you all this context of ADP, Global Payroll, GlobalView, but the reality is that this is a pretty big migration of a system. We support large clients. Many of them are the Fortune 500 clients. And we build the solution on top of SAP. It's a multi-tenant solution. And we have lots of data, lots of things that we developed over all these years. We have basically two landscapes. One is already S/4HANA, so latest version of SAP S/4HANA. We have been implementing new clients for a little bit more than a year now on the solution. So that is more like migration, if you will. It's more a change on the infrastructure, so it should be more straightforward. But then we have EC6, which needs to be upgraded to S/4HANA. So that's one of the changes that need to happen, and then move to RISE as well. So those are the two main changes. So that's basically going to happen in 3 steps. One is a POC, because we need to do this in a certain amount of time. I cannot have the systems down for days, and the clients cannot use that. So the POC is going to allow us to understand the throughput of data, how much data we can move in a certain period of time, all the tasks that are required after that, post-migration configurations, and things like that. So that's going to help us determine how much we can do in a certain period of time. Then we're going to go through a pilot, where we're going to move some clients, make sure everything is really working well. And from that point on, we're going to do a mass migration, which is basically taking a full environment and moving, converting to S/4HANA and moving to RISE. So in this slide, you can see basically we have 4 pods in production. One is already S/4HANA. Again, like to like, more straightforward. For the other ones, because of the, again, amount of data that we have, the number of clients that we have in each one of them, our plan is to basically split that in 2. So that will allow us to achieve what we need to achieve in a reasonable window of time. And it's something we have been considering already because it also makes it a little bit easier to manage those systems, right? So out of 4 pods that we have today, you're going to have 7 after the migration. So here I give you a little bit more details of how that's going to happen. So if you look at the number 1, that pod shell, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the source system, we're going to create a shell with all the configuration and from the source. We're going to convert that shell to S/4HANA. So that's going where the change from ECC6 to S/4HANA is going to happen. And then we're going to make a copy of these 2 new target systems. And at that point, we can move all the data from the source to the target, and then the clients will be on S/4HANA, on RISE. For the S/4HANA landscape, it's, again, moving from more lift and shift from our data center to RISE, okay? So when I look back to this slide that I've shown you before, basically the main change here is that the entire global payroll solution is going to be on AWS from a cloud perspective. So GlobalView and ADP Celergo will be in AWS as well. So the entire global payroll solution will be there. What do you see for the future? So like what it looks like in the future, right? So it's a fully cloud-enabled solution. That's what we are looking for. That's what we are aiming. That's what we are working for. And this is happening as we speak. Enhancing scalability. I talked about the scale of the clients, of all the countries that we support. And it's a growing business, so we'll make sure that we enhance those capabilities. Enhancing the resilience, it's extremely important, and especially with the complexity of the systems. Continue to focus on security. It's a very strong point and an important aspect that we like to take care. Bringing more automation to the overall solution. And of course, bringing AI, right? So ADP has a solution called ADP Assist. We are working on that. We already have some use cases that are being that will be delivered soon or are being in pilot mode, and that's going to be part of our global payroll solution as well. So in summary, what we're going to take out of this, be ready for the next anything, right? So the world is evolving really, really fast. Things are changing really quickly, and we want to be prepared for what's coming. We're going to continue to be focused and even more on client innovation. This change will allow us to put more focus on that. And of course, security and compliance by design. Without security and compliance, everything else doesn't matter that much. So that's another important aspect of what we'll be doing, okay? So if you have any questions, you're going to have my contact at the end. Feel free to reach out. We're going to have Q&A at the end. But before that, I'm going to call Anjan back to the stage. He's going to give us a little bit more context about other areas where AWS is working with ADP for the cloud.
Thank you. That was an excellent view into GlobalView and the RISE decision by Marcos. Thank you, Marcos, for that. So once again, my name is Anjan Dave. I'm a principal solutions architect with AWS, supporting ADP. Now, you may be wondering what's going on in ADP at large beyond GlobalView. So what I would like to do is walk you through the broader ADP context and how we are collaborating with them. Now, before I begin, I want to talk to you a little bit about ADP here in terms of history. ADP marks its 75th year anniversary this year. ADP has a long-standing history and a meaningful impact in shaping the world of work. With over 1 million clients, ADP is focused, as always, on designing better ways to work. And innovation is at the center of everything they do. We have been collaborating with ADP since about 2015, I would say, and these high-level goals have been and continue to be quite relevant today. So let's walk through them. Innovation. ADP leverages about over 140 AWS services today to lead in HCM technology. I will share with you a couple of examples of applications that have adopted modern architecture patterns. ADP also utilizes AWS's global infrastructure to expand their reach and service delivery into markets worldwide. Marcos touched upon that aspect already. When it comes to scalability and resiliency, this is an area we strive to enhance in terms of operational efficiencies, performance, scalability, as well as resiliency. Now, last but not the least, ADP, we are collaborating with ADP to ensure that AI-driven solutions are developed, taking advantage of ADP's data as well as domain expertise and combining that with AWS's AI/ML capabilities. This collaboration overall has resulted in a number of innovative ways that ADP continues to do better for their clients. In the next slide, I will share with you some of the key milestones of ADP in their journey with AWS. I won't go through all of them here, but in line with the goals of innovation, global scale, and more, ADP today runs their customer-facing HCM engines as well as some of the internal service delivery platforms on AWS. When I talk about HCM, what that means is a human capital management engine that Marcos was referring to. It's an engine that does payroll and a lot of other things, including benefits and so on. So some of these services have been designed in AWS from the ground up, but the workloads do take benefit of the managed services aspect of AWS. So if we look at My ADP portal, this is something that you may be familiar with when it comes to checking your pay stubs, your W-4, setting up direct deposit. All of these things you can do from this portal. This is used today by over 14 million users. Then we have Wisely. Wisely platform is all about the pay card, right? You can load a portion of your salary into this debit card and start using it right away. Part of that platform includes the Wisely Secure Digital Wallet application. This was designed in a matter of just months using AWS services. We have Celergo. This is a solution that lets clients unify their payroll across multiple countries in a single platform. Again, this is something that Marcos explained to us. Expert System, right? That is from the LATAM space. As we speak, we are migrating this to AWS, and we are seeing performance an order of magnitude better than what it was on premise. And then we have the ADP Lyric system, which was launched into action back in September this year. This is an HCM solution that provides payroll and other services across 75 plus countries. And this was born in AWS, designed in AWS from the ground up. So tying back to the ADP goals that I was talking about earlier, here's an example of how ADP transformed their customer experience with My ADP portal, elevating the performance, enhancing the resiliency posture, and at the same time reducing the costs. The goal here with this portal really was to bring the different functionalities of the application on par with each other in terms of performance, whether it's doing benefits enrollment or doing pay statements and so on. The team achieved this goal by adopting serverless event-driven architectures based on AWS Lambda, ECS, Fargate, and more. This architecture also positively influenced a multi-region active-active architecture for this workload. As Devi Ramachandran, Senior Director of DevOps, said, we are using AWS because we want to be a product development team and not an infrastructure management team. That would make sense, right? Because I mentioned that managed services aspect of AWS multiple times. You can dive deep into the use case here using the QR code which you can scan. Here's another example of transformation to enable ADP for growth of business. This is a workload that processes W2 statements, which you all are familiar with, I'm sure, and a whole lot of them, 80 million plus. This was also transformed using serverless technology, particularly to take advantage of AWS's scalability and pay-as-you-go functionality. This would make sense because there is an element of seasonality associated with W2s, right? This also uses Lambda and other serverless components, and that increased the overall speed for this workload by about 14x, at the same time reducing the cost as well. As Narendra Verma, Director of Development for ADP says, with the help of the AWS team, we upskilled our team. We got up and running on the technology at a speed beyond our expectations. Indeed, they did a great job upskilling their team on serverless technologies at the time in a very short amount of time. And lastly, this whole development cycle enhanced their software release cadence so that they can release the software more often. Now let's talk about resiliency for a minute here. Organizations want to secure their digital future with resiliency. Why so? Well, that's because there are some key business imperatives associated with resiliency. This includes business continuity and market leadership. They are very closely associated with resiliency, right? And we have been collaborating with ADP on this to ensure that we enhance operational efficiencies. This is all part of the AWS well-architected framework. Resiliency is part of the reliability pillar of the framework, right? So the goal here is to ensure that resiliency is kind of institutionalized as part of the design as a foundation for all the applications. So as a result of this engagement, we have a number of ADP workloads that have better scalability and better availability, thanks to the AWS's multi-AZ, multi-region, as well as the managed services functionality. By the way, I forgot to mention here, Voice of Employee, VOE, that I'm showing here. That is one application that I'm calling out here as an example of improvements in their resiliency. So you can scan this QR code to go take a look at this blog. I co-authored this blog. It was released earlier this year, and it talks about how multi-region active-active was achieved, taking care of the latencies, etc., across the regions. So we covered a lot of things happening at ADP at large. One of the most important business goals for ADP is to drive innovation by leveraging the comprehensive data sets they have, as well as domain expertise using AI/ML. We are collaborating on accelerating a number of use cases based on Gen AI. The ADP Assist project, which Marcos mentioned towards the end of his presentation, this project aims to bring the power of Gen AI to a number of different HCM functions. Those are listed here in this picture over here. The goal here is to streamline payroll processing and make it really easy for users to find the information they need and to even interact with that information. Some of the examples include driving efficiencies in payroll validations, generating reminders and insights, doing smart analytics using AI, creating nudges, for example, being able to put PTO request, as well as looking up tax forms. So there's quite a bit of things happening there. So this will be my last slide here. Now, Marcos gave us some really good insights into GlobalView and the decision-making process behind RISE and some of the migration steps there. So the question is, what happens now, right? That the decision has been made, the plans have been drawn. Well, you can imagine SAP is a very complex ecosystem with a lot of applications, a lot of integration points involved. So we are looking at those. We are reviewing those integrations and those applications. And while doing so, one thing that surfaces is that there's a consideration for data gravity. Some of these applications that handle data, we should really want to make sure that these are co-located together for better performance and lower latency. So that's one thing we are looking at. We are evaluating the options for integrations based on the AWS offerings. And as we talk about AWS migrations, The consideration for VPC to VPC communication comes into the scene because RISE is going to be in a separate VPC. All these other components will be in the GlobalView owned AWS VPC. Connecting those two will be the very first step for us. And after that, we'll start evaluating each non-SAP applications. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. And I would like to invite my colleague Sudhendu Pandey to come on stage here and talk to you about the benefits of SAP RISE on AWS.
Thank you, Anjan. Allow me to start with a small origin story. As some of you, or most of you might be aware, that AWS was born out of Amazon in 2006. And that was the time when we became the first cloud provider in the world. For 7 long years, we were the only ones in the market. That gave us a lot of learning, that gave us a lot of advantage. In the next 8 to 10 minutes, let's learn about why AWS is the platform of choice for running SAP workloads, including RISE, based on 3 dimensions: security, maturity, and innovation. And some of you also might be aware that 2008 was the time when SAP launched the first ever server in the cloud on AWS. When Hasso Plattner, the founder of SAP, saw the capabilities of AWS at an event like this, and they said, let's try something like this in the cloud and see what happens. Since then, for the past 16 plus years, we've been collaborating with SAP on your behalf to offer their products and services on our platform, like BTP, DataSphere, Analytics Cloud, Signavio, and more. When I work with CIOs and other customer stakeholders, they look at a chart like this and they start asking questions about their own landscape to say, what else am I running in addition to RISE, for example? That's their end state. If that's the North Star, what are the dependencies on your HCM solution? What HCM are you using? Where does it run? What CRM solution are you using? Where does it run? What are the dependencies on integration, latency, architectural simplicity, and interfaces? And I encourage all of you to take a look at your own landscapes and ask the same questions to see what that end state could look like, and that will help you decide what the best architecture in your case is. Those of you who attended Matt Garman's keynote yesterday or saw a recording, he talked a lot about how we've been innovating for the past several years on our own custom silicon, which is Graviton processors for general purpose use, and Inferentia and Trainium for AI-related use cases. Another small origin story: back in January of 2015, Amazon announced the acquisition of Annapurna Labs, based out of Israel, who specialized in designing and manufacturing ARM-based chipsets. And because of that, we are able to offer you these custom chipsets that give you specific performance and cost advantages. SAP has been taking advantage of these, and based on that, they have decided that they will extend the use of Graviton to BTP, to DataSphere, to Cloud ALM, and so on. In addition, they've also determined that they will be better off using Trainium and Inferentia to run their business AI workloads. And they already are running their business AI chatbot called Joule through BTP on AWS from day one. So these are some of the things to keep in mind, that BTP will become an essential part of your journey when you go to RISE. So these factors should be part of your decision making. Now let's talk about some of the advantages of running SAP workloads on AWS specifically. Based on an IDC research study, they determined that compared to an on-prem landscape, running SAP workloads on AWS causes 58% less downtime, so business continuity is better. Based on a Hackett Group study on security, the number of incidents of security violation reduced by 45% in AWS for SAP and mission-critical workloads compared to on-premise. And this is the example I was citing in the previous slide, where SAP has been using our Graviton processors to run HANA Cloud, which is a database as a service, as some of you might be aware, and they have benefited from a 30% performance improvement overall. Extensibility-wise, we give you access to 100% of the BTP services available on public cloud on AWS. We are the only providers to do it. That gives you access to the full breadth of SAP capabilities in one place. And innovation is the other dimension that we take pride in. As I said, 3 dimensions in the beginning. Innovation is one of them. With the ABAP SDK, or the software development kit that we announced more than 2 years ago, you can access all AWS services from within an SAP environment in a very simple architecture pattern that you don't need any middleware, you don't need any cloud connectors. Just deploy the ABAP stack or the SDK on your ABAP stack and access the AWS services. And last but not the least, generative AI is another benefit that you get. Through the SDK or through other means, you can access multiple foundation models in Amazon Bedrock, which is our AI platform. From within an SAP process, you can extend using AI capabilities. Now, going back to the 3 dimensions of innovation, security, maturity, let's dive a little deeper into what these specifically mean in the context of an SAP landscape. So just on performance alone, a lot of the material, a lot of the education in the market is about trying to make you believe that infrastructure is a commodity. To a large extent it is, but it's not all the same. Why? Because if you go back to the origin of RISE, when SAP announced RISE in January 2021, AWS was the only provider who was offering 0 RPO for RISE workloads. What does RPO mean? RPO means it's just a measure of how much data will you lose if your systems go down. Other providers were offering a minimum 30 minutes. We were offering 0 RPO for RISE workloads. And why is that? Because of the maturity of the design we have in our cloud. We offer a construct called regions at the top, like US West, US East, Europe Central, so on. 33 of them around the world. Within each region, we have at least 3 what we call as availability zones. Availability zones are redundant or separated from each other by power, network, security, and other means. So if one fails, the other one takes over. And within each AZ or availability zone, you could have 1 or more data centers. So this 3-layer hierarchy allows us to create highly resilient architectures for SAP, just as Anjan was mentioning, for cloud-native applications. That's the reason how we could offer 0 RPO and still do for RISE workloads. Another unique feature that we offer for RISE workloads is immutable backups, which is only available on AWS for RISE workloads. Nitro is another aspect of our innovation, in addition to Graviton, that makes us different from anyone else. Nitro, in short, is our way of isolating the hypervisor or the virtualization burden on the host, putting into a hardware system separate from the host, so you get access to the entire compute power for the host for your application. There is no penalty for virtualization. We also isolate security based on Nitro. That's how we offer more security and reliability. We spoke about Graviton, so I'm not going to go there again. 143 security compliance certifications and validations are available to you in AWS, also applicable to SAP workloads. We've been supporting NS2, which is SAP's national security related service, for the longest time because of this design. And last but not the least, we are ahead of our target of 2030 to be 100% renewable energy driven by next year. So that helps you with your ESG goals as well. And Graviton, since it uses less compute power to do the same thing, spoke about 30% performance improvement, it also results in a smaller footprint. So that's how it improves your sustainability dynamics. This might be already awareness in your mind. We have already announced the availability of 32 terabyte HANA instances, which can run your S4 workloads in May of this year. I was actually sitting with Stephen Jones, our product director for SAP EC2 today, and he showed me SAP has certified the next generation of these 32 terabyte instances already for production use. So if you go and check on the hardware certification directory on SAP's website, you'll find AWS instances for 32 terabytes already certified. And with these instances, we can go more than 1 million SAPs per instance, if that's something you are measuring your performance requirements on. BTP, I mentioned that in the beginning. BTP is the core for designing an architecture that promotes a clean core. Clean core allows you to keep your ERP system or the S/4HANA system relatively close to how SAP delivers it to you, and offload the customizations, the integrations, and the extensions to BTP or the business transformation platform, business technology platform, sorry, and keep your core clean. What that lets you do is it avoids technical debt over time. You can apply SAP's innovation, SAP's updates, security patches faster compared to in the past, and take advantage of cloud-native services that are available on AWS. Again, on the same lines, AWS leads the market with the most BTP services available in the most regions. 9 regions today, more coming in the future. We continue to deploy it as we speak. And 1,400 plus partner solutions in the library that you can take advantage of related to these workloads. Diving a little deeper on the Clean Core plus AWS innovation story, starting at the bottom of this chart, it's a little busy, so sorry, I clicked the wrong button. The infrastructure layer is the foundation of everything that runs on top of it. So core hardware, Nitro, Graviton, Inferentia, all that, x86 architecture. And then we put applications on top, either cloud natively or through RISE. And beyond that, we start creating differentiated applications for our business or our industry, using a combination of either BTP or AWS services. We have a private link service available that allows you to securely connect across BTP applications and AWS applications if you so desire. So SAP plus AWS together give you the power of cloud that nothing else can. And then we talk about business use cases like improving revenue from entering new markets, accessing new customer bases, or using data to make better decisions, improving manufacturing product cycles, and so on. So coming to the final comment here, or the final slide, we have the most experience running SAP workloads in the cloud, in the market. We've learned it the hard way, and we bring all those lessons to you today with our services. We do not compromise on security. Security is job zero. You might have heard it multiple times during this event and in the past. Performance, reliability, and sustainability are the core of the innovation agenda for our SAP customers. Graviton, Inferentia, Trainium give you better performance, better price performance if you choose to use them natively. We will continue to push the boundaries of even larger instances beyond 32 terabytes as we see demand from customers like you. And access to the broadest set of services, cloud native in AWS, innovating at the fastest pace, the most amount of enhancements delivered in a year, and supporting BTP in the most regions, and continuing to work with SAP. There's a very unique reason why we have the most services for BTP on AWS. Because when SAP engineering started deploying BTP services on public cloud, our Frankfurt region was their default deployment region. Every service enhancement, every service announcement, or new services they come in, go to Frankfurt AWS region first. And from that point onwards, they propagated across the world and to other hyperscalers. So we have that first mover advantage even till date, and that's the reason why we continue to lead the market. We have a plethora of partners, 94 to be precise, on the competency certification for SAP, who can help you assess, execute the actual migration, do the post-migration AMS and TMS, or application management and technical managed services. AMS more relevant for RISE customers. And then we have a lot of free online training content available, certifications that your teams can leverage, and dedicated funding that we provide to help you ease out the double bubble for running 2 workloads in parallel when you're migrating to RISE. With that, I encourage you to take a scan of this QR code, request your free assessment workshop with our experts to see where does RISE fit into your landscape, how can you design a good architecture, work with SAP and us jointly to create a successful outcome for your business, and visit us at the Venetian Village to talk more about topics that piqued your interest or anything outside of the scope of this conversation as well. And while you have your phone up, you could take a picture of this sheet for the list of all SAP-related sessions at reInvent. Some of them still might be happening live, but you can always watch recordings as we make them available after the event is over. With this, I would like to thank you for your time, for making the trek to this place, and my fellow presenters, Marcos and Anjan, for helping us deliver this content to you. We will take questions now. And if you so will, please fill out the survey so we know what else can we do to improve these sessions for you in the future. Thank you so much.